There's nothing more annoying than holes in your favorite garments or textiles, and we teach you how to easily mend them. Today we're going to show you the tried and true method of stocking darning, which will extend the life of your clothes and also save you some money in the long run. So let's go ahead and get started. For supplies, you'll need your damaged fabric, some textured thread or thin yarn, and a long blunt needle. We have chosen a thicker thread to make it easier for you to see what we're doing, but you can choose a thread matching the texture and color of your fabric if you want it to be more invisible. So we prefer with starting off with making a little knot on the thread. You'll want to make the thread length as long as you can, but still manageable to sew with. For this darn, we're going to create a squared patch on the right side of the fabric. Making it squared is quite easy because you can follow the grain of the fabric. When we do a stocking darn, we're essentially replicating a weaving technique. This part, in weaving terms, is also called the warp. So we start by working in straight lines across the whole, again following the grain of the fabric. We then make a tiny stitch before returning back again. I normally pick up just a couple of threads of the fabric that I'm working with. You want to keep a good tension here and make sure that it's as straight as possible, but be careful not to make it too tight. The closer that you make the rows, the tighter your final darning will be. It's also worth saying that the tighter you make it, the more difficult it might be when you start doing the other direction. So you saw there that on the back side, we just have tiny little stitches visible. So you continue like this, up and down, just making straight rows. And again, make sure it doesn't get too tight. You can also use an embroidery hoop. That might help. We're speeding this up a little bit because we think you got the gist of it. You can see now that on the back side we have just tiny little stitches next to one another. To finish the warp, pull the thread through and pick up one of the little stitches to make a knot. We've made a double knot here, but it's not always necessary. There we go. Make sure it's nice and tight. Cut off any loose ends, and there you go. Your warp is done. We're now going to do the diagonal rows. In weaving terms, this is called the weft. We've chosen a contrast color thread again to make it easier to see what we're doing. Like before, make a little knot. And we get started going through the fabric on the opposite side as close as you can to the warp. The closer that you make this, the tighter your final patch will be. We're now starting to weave the darn, going over and under alternating threads with the needle. If you have a long needle, you'll be able to do several threads before pulling the thread through. So we go over and under, over and under. To make sure that you're not catching the fabric itself or the wrong thread, you can move your needle up and down a little bit to make sure that it's loose. You will feel if you get stuck in something. The first rows are always a little bit trickier, but try to be careful to really alternate over and under the rows. Now pull the thread through. You will want it straight, but not too tight. And like with the warp, make a tiny little stitch. And now we're going to return. As we return, we want to go over and under the opposite threads. That means that the thread that you went over on your previous row, you want to go under it on your way back. It's a little bit hard to see here, but you can see that I'm separating the threads with my thumb to make it easier to see what I'm doing. Before pulling the thread through, you might want to move your needle up and down a little bit. You can see here that we've used quite a fluffy thread. That also makes it hard because your needle will get stuck in the thread. So moving your needle up and down will also help to make sure that you're not stuck in anything. And there we go. Tighten it a little bit and then pull the needle through. And we make a tiny little stitch again. And you just continue like this until you've covered pretty much the whole patch. We're speeding it up here a little bit. As you get to the end of your patch, it might be a little bit trickier to see what you're doing because it will be tighter. It will be harder to separate the thread with your thumb. You can use the needle to separate the thread a little bit. You can see here at the end, I move the needle up and down more often, just to make sure that I'm not catching the wrong thread, and also to make it tighter. The more rows of the weft that you can fit in, the tighter and neater looking your patch will look. And we're almost done. Pull the thread through. There you go. Before you know it, you've finished your patch. And what we do now, at the end, we just pull the thread through, and just like we did with the warp, we make a little knot. And you can see on the back side that you can just see tiny little stitches. There we go. Your stocking darning is finished. You've got a neat little squared patch.